Hello guys, this is Dr. Pooja and I am your English educator on Unacademy's app. I'll be covering science subject in a very easy, understandable way. Okay, so as I said, I'm your English educator. By that, don't think I'm gonna make it very difficult for you. No, it is going to be very easy even for the students who understand Hindi or who prefer Hindi as a language. All right, so nothing to worry about. Please start signing up, start subscribing, start registering on Unacademy's app for plus courses, because we group of educators there on the app have started these batch courses to cover all your subjects for 9th and 10th in a very, as I said, easy and understandable and a very interactive way. Okay, so little bit about myself first. As I said, my name is Dr. Pooja and I was a scientist in United States for 8 years. Now I'm back in India. I had to come back to India because I wanted to make science very easy for you guys, okay, so that you can choose science as a career. Okay, so what I do, all the concepts I pick and I make them very understandable to you guys, so that it is not tough, it is not something complicated, it is not something which you cannot remember. All right, so today's topic that I picked is important concepts and questions from your chapter 1, like matter around us. You have this chapter in your science book, matter around us, and what I've done is I'm not going to cover that whole chapter here, but when you go to the chapter, you will find like all the concepts are there, so many activities are there. Then they pick one concept, then they pick another concept to subco, they mix it, and when they mix it, you guys are confused like what to get from this chapter. So what I've done is I have picked the hot topics, I have picked the main important points from that topic, so that you can have those points set here in your mind. Okay, you don't get confused. Like for example, if you are in a भीड़ में होते हो तो आपको पता नहीं चलता कौन से फेसेस याद रखने हैं, राइट? बट अगर उसी भीड़ में से इंपॉर्टेंट फेसेस पिक करके आपके सामने रख दिए जाए, you'll be able to remember those points, right? So same way here, what I've done is I have picked all the important concepts from your chapter, so that, as I said, it's very easy and understandable for you. All right, so let's get started. Give me just a second. As I was telling you about me, my name is Dr. Pooja. Just a second, let me check whether it's getting streaming or not. Let me check it real quick, guys, so that I can see your questions and queries, so that I can answer those. Give me a second.
Dr. Pooja.
Wonderful.
Just a second,
So it's great, guys. So let me welcome all of you: Nishu, Niru, Dipanjali, Sanjam, Sonam, Sovik. यस, हिंदी में भी बात करूंगी मैं, इंग्लिश में भी बात करूंगी, ताकि हिंदी वालों को भी समझ आए और इंग्लिश वालों को भी समझ आए. एंड जैसे कि मैं आपको बता रही हूँ गाइज, ये सेम सेशन, वी हैव ऑल दीज ग्रेट सेशंस ऑन अनअकैडमीज ऐप. आप वहां जा सकते हो, यू कैन चेक द स्पेशल सेशंस देयर, एंड देन यू कैन गो एंड सब्सक्राइब फॉर दिस थिंग. Use my referral code PS13, as I'm showing that here on the screen. Okay, so just a second, wait. Yes, here. So use this as a referral code and you'll get great discounts. Okay, so let's get started with today's discussion. So again, today's discussion is like all important points from your science chapter 1, matter around us. Okay, so let's get started. Again, I'm saying it's all important points. Nothing like, I'm not going to cover each and everything mentioned in this chapter. If you want to cover that, that will be there in our batch lectures, in our courses that we cover on Academy's platform. Okay, so first is physical and chemical properties of a matter. So I know you all know, आप सबको पता है कि matter is made up of particle. Okay, particles, of course, because it is just not one particle. So I will not go into too much of the details. As I said, in this chapter I'm covering only important, very important points. इस chapter में मैंने सारे hi Harsh, important points cover करे हैं. Feel free to ask me questions so that I can answer your questions as well. So what are the physical properties and chemical properties of a matter? So what happens is, the physical nature of matter, okay, for example, its state, its smell, its form, its color, its touch, these are called physical properties of a matter. Okay, and what are the chemical properties of a matter? So chemical properties are like, what is the chemical composition of the matter, what is the matter made up of, how it reacts with other substances, how it decomposes, what kind of bonds are there, how is the reactivity. Okay, so those are called chemical properties of matter. So in this section I explain to you what is the difference between physical and chemical properties. Sometimes this question comes like, what is the physical property of this matter, what are the chemical properties of this matter? So this is the difference. The smell, form, color, touch comes under physical properties. For example, let's take an example to make it even easier. Water. Okay, when water is in its solid form, let's say ice, okay, then it is solid, it melts, it's liquid, it vaporizes, it's gas. So these are all the physical properties of water. Okay, ice is cold to touch. Okay, then water is like, has fluidity. Then gas is like steam, which becomes water, becomes steam, so that is like hot. So these are all the physical properties of matter, of water, for example. Why I've taken an example of water? Because that is the easiest substance that occurs in all three different forms, and we can take that example to explain most of the concepts in this chapter. Okay, then the chemical properties of water, when that comes is H2O. We all know water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So that comes under the chemical properties of water. Like, what is the chemical formula of water? Alright, what are different atoms? They come together to make water. So this was about physical and chemical properties. Let me see if you have any questions here. Yeah, this is the first lecture, Nishu Kumari, and in this chapter I'm not going to cover each and everything about matter. I'm just picking up very important points, very important questions that you should know for like when you read or when you study or when you go over this matter around us. Okay, Priyanuj. Hi, Priyanuj. Okay, so next in that chapter you must have studied what are solids, liquids and gases. So just to sum up real quick, what are solids? Solids, they have definite shape. Let's again take example of ice. Okay, so ice it is solid. Again, I'm taking example of water because it is very easy, because it occurs in all solids, liquid and gaseous state. So it is easy to understand. Okay, कहीं पे भी आपको कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम लगती है, just drop me a question, I'll answer it right there. But guys, this lecture is very important from the point of view कि आपको सारे points जो हैं, you can remember all those points. ठीक है, आपको confusion नहीं होगी, सारी चीजें बहुत ही clear एक एक slide पे मैंने आपके लिए I have put them together on one slide to make the concept very easy, understandable and clear to you guys. Alright, so solids, see in this, when you go back to your book, everything is mixed up, but when you check here, everything is crystal clear. Okay, in three columns, I mentioned what is solid, what is liquid, what is gas. Solids, definite shape. For example, ice, it has definite shape, definite boundaries. Then, of course, definite boundaries. fixed volume. Whenever you put ice in a ice cube, in a plate or in a glass or on the table, it has fixed volume. It does not take the volume of the container. Okay, it is rigid. Solids are rigid. They are hard to touch, hard to break. Okay, so these are the basic properties. If somebody asks you, if there is a question, what are the different properties of solid, liquid and gases, you don't have to think a lot. Just go by this and then you will, get an idea like what are the main features of solid, liquids and gases. So, excuse me. So again, so we had then example of ice for solid, then water for liquid. There is no definite shape. You put water in any container, it takes the shape of the container. For example, you put ice in a glass, it will take the shape of glass. You put, water in a glass, it takes shape of glass. You put water in the plate, it will take, in the bottle, it will take the shape. So there is no definite shape for liquids, okay? No distinct boundaries. It does not have boundaries. Let's say water, it spills on the ground. It will just spill. It will just does not hold its shape. That means there are no distinct boundaries. इसकी कोई boundary नहीं होती है पानी की. जब ये गिरता है, जब कोई liquid कोई भी गिरता है, they lose their boundaries. Why? I will explain in the upcoming slide. Then fixed volume. Liquids, they have fixed volume. If you have 10 ml of liquid, तो वो 10 ml of liquid ही रहेगा, whether you put it in a glass or in a bottle or on a plate or wherever. Okay. So what is the definition of rigidity? Priyanuj, I will explain that in my next slide. Okay. अभी आप बने रहिए. अभी मैं आपको बताती हूँ कि what is rigidity in a very simple terminology. Okay. ताकि आपको you will not have to ask it again कि what is rigidity. So they have fixed volumes. They are not rigid, but they are fluid in nature. So all these properties of solids, liquids and gases, I will explain in my upcoming slides in a one diagram. Okay. Then comes to, let's come to gases. So gases, they don't have, no definite shape, no distinct boundaries, no fixed volumes. They are not rigid, but compressible. Guys, another important word here is compressible. Okay, so we'll cover all these terminology in upcoming slides. So first, let's understand why no definite shape. Because gases, they take the shape of in whatever container we put them in. Okay. Hi Bhumika, hi Priyal. Thanks guys, thanks for coming to this session. I really appreciate it. And you can go to Unacademy's app and sign up for Plus courses. We are all educators there to take your classes, and you can use, my name is Dr. Pooja Sharma. You can use my code PS13 if you want to register. Okay. Hi Nishu Kumari. So all right, so as I said, gases, no definite shape, no distinct boundaries, no fixed volume. So okay, shape we understand, boundaries we understand. What is this volume thing? So wherever you put these gases in whatever container, they take the whole volume of the container. You put the gases in a smaller bottle, they'll take the whole space. You put the gases in a bigger cylinder, they take the whole space of the cylinder. Okay, so that is called no fixed volume. Then they are not rigid. They are not rigid. Rigid means they are not hard, but they are compressible. So I will be covering these three important points: compressibility, rigidity, fluidity. Okay. Yes, Sonam Agarwal, I am in batch courses. I am your English science educator there, and my code is PS13. ऋषि जी, मैं हिंदी में भी बात कर रही हूँ, मैं मिक्स बात कर रही हूँ, बट माई इंग्लिश इज नॉट वेरी टफ दैट यू कैन नॉट अंडरस्टैंड. आई एम ट्राइंग कि इतनी ईजी हो कि हिंदी वालों को भी मेरा समझाया हुआ अच्छे से समझ आ जाए. ओके, तो हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में मैं बात करूंगी, आपको समझ आना चाहिए बस. ऑलराइट, सो सॉलिड लिक्विड गैसेस क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू. मुझे बता दीजिए जल्दी से. सुंदा, मिस सुंदा. हाँ जी, मैं हिंदी में भी बात करूंगी गाइस, बिल्कुल बात करूंगी बच्चा आपके लिए. आप मुझे बताइए कमेंट सेक्शन में लिख के आपको मेरा पढ़ाया हुआ समझ आ रहा है अच्छे से। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, इसी की मैं बात कर रही थी कि व्हाट इज कंप्रेसिबिलिटी, व्हाट इज रिजिडिटी एंड व्हाट इज फ्लूइडिटी। Okay guys, so we have to understand these three are the most important concepts from this chapter, matter around us. Okay, these are new words, but somehow you know these words but you don't know how to define them. Okay, so what is compressibility? First column is all about compressibility. So what do you get from compressibility? Divide it in two words. Guys, let me tell you today, I don't have pentabloid, because if I have that, next sessions that I'll be taking, I'll be writing, scribbling for you guys. Okay, but because of this lockdown, I'm not able to do that. Please excuse me for that. But in the coming sessions, I will be writing things for you. I'll be making it even easier. Okay, आने वाले सेशंस बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग और इजी होने वाले हैं, बिकॉज तब मैं सब लिख पाऊंगी आपके लिए। बट बिकॉज ऑफ लॉकडाउन मेरे पास कुछ चीज़ों की कमी है, तो प्लीज़ अंडरस्टैंड। एंड थोड़ा सा तेज बोल रही हूँ, आपको आवाज़ नहीं सुन रही है तो मैं और तेज बोलती हूँ प्रतिमा। So let's understand what is compressibility. So compressibility can be divided into, this one word can be divided into two words, compress. Compress means when you put pressure, it can be compressed, its volume can be decreased. Okay, so the definition here says the measure of extent to which the space between the particles of a matter can be changed by applying pressure. Okay, so what's happening here? All the particles in matter, we all understand matter is made up of particles, and particles, they have spaces between them. All right, so in terms of gases only, okay, in terms of gases only, we have this word compressible. They are compressible. Why? Because gases, particles, they have large spaces in between them. I'm going to show you in a picture. एक ही पिक्चर में 5-6 कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर हो जाएंगे आपके, बट देखते रहिए। कीप because the gas particles, all right, they have larger spaces between them. So if they have larger spaces between them, we put pressure on the gas and they come closer to each other. Okay, when they come closer to each other, this is called compressibility. Okay, second is what is rigidity. Second column in this picture is showing you what is rigidity. The measure of proximity, or how closely packed the particles of a matter are, is called rigidity. So what happens is, when these particles are close, for example, in terms of solids, if we talk about, these particles are too close to each other. Okay, when they're too close to each other, which means there is less space between them, there is no room for them to come even closer. So less compressibility, we call it is rigid. There is high rigidity. Okay, then comes fluidity. What is fluidity? The measure of existence of empty spaces between the particles is called fluidity. For example, in case of liquids, okay, in liquids there is space between the particles, but it is more than solids but less than gases. So they are not free flowing like gases, and they are not too hard like solids. So this factor is called fluidity. They cannot just take the whole volume, but they don't have the defined boundaries. So ये फर्क था compressibility, rigidity और fluidity में. Yes, Nishu, I will explain compressibility. You know, let me show you the picture, and in that picture here, in this picture, all the concepts will be very clear. Okay, because if you have this picture in front of you, I wish I could draw things for you to make it even easier, but that's okay. For now, we'll just go by this. So 6 concepts are there in one picture. All right. First concept, you have to understand. Question आता है exam में, write the properties of matter. Okay, what is matter made up of? All those properties, characteristics you have to write. Remember just this one picture, you will be able to explain all the characteristics of matter. You will be able to clarify what is compressibility, what is rigidity, what is fluidity, what is the nature of solid, what is the nature of liquid, what is the nature of gases. Just from this one picture, you will be able to explain each and everything. Okay, how come? First picture A is of solid. We have I've tried to show you how the particles are arranged in solids. B is of liquids. C is of gases. All right, so solids में the particles are very closely packed. You see in picture A, the matter is the particles are very closely packed. Okay, that is the nature of solids. That is how solids are made. Liquids, they are closely packed but not too closely packed as in case of solids. They have some empty spaces between them. And gases, they are like very freely packed. There are like huge spaces between them. Okay, so this point clear to all of you? Just send me thumbs up or okay. Then I'll explain compressibility, fluidity, rigidity, solids, liquids, gases on the basis of all this. Send me thumbs up if this is clear to you. All right, guys. All right, so matter is made up of particles. We all know everything is made up of particles. Whatever we see around us is made up of particles. If it is solid, the particles are very closely packed. If it's liquid, they are closely packed but not as closely as in solids. They have empty spaces. And in gases, they are not at all closely packed. They have larger spaces between them. So we covered point number 1 of characteristic of matter. Matter is made up of particle. 2, particles have spaces between them. 3, these particles are always moving. Remember this. These particles are always moving, and this energy is called kinetic energy. Guys, kinetic energy, remember this. आप सबको याद रखना है कि what is kinetic energy. Okay, the energy carried by moving particles in a matter is called kinetic energy. So which one of these A, B, C pictures is having highest kinetic energy? Can anybody tell me? A, B, C. A, B or C, which one is having highest kinetic energy? बताइए मुझे. Pratima, Nishu, Priyal, everybody, which one is having highest kinetic energy? Guys, come on. So C is going to have highest kinetic energy because the particles, they have larger spaces between them. Take an example. You are in a crowd. It is like too closely packed crowd. Will you be able to move freely? No, because there is no space to move. So that is what happens to solids. Because in solids, there is no empty space. So particles, they don't move freely. So their kinetic energy is very low. Same thing for gases. The Nishu, your answer is not right. C is not liquid. C is gases. Okay. So C is gases. Like you are in a park and there is nobody over there. So you can run around. You can move around freely. So which means you have high kinetic energy there. All right. But when you are in a very tightly packed, crowded place, you cannot even move your hand. Okay. That means your kinetic energy is low there. All right. So this is all about kinetic energy. So in this picture, picture A is rigid. Rigid means it is all the particles are tightly packed, low kinetic energy. Because of that, the particles cannot move freely. They have to hold the boundaries. They have to hold their shape. Okay. So picture A is rigid. Picture A is of solids. Picture A shows you zero compressibility. Means there is no empty space. You cannot compress it and make the particles to come closer. All right. So picture B, yes. Pratima, yes, your answer is right. It is gas. You're right. Absolutely right. So liquids, they have more spaces between them, which means they don't have like too much or too many empty spaces between them. So that means they have little empty spaces, so they can move around, which means they are not rigid because they can move around. They cannot hold their boundaries because the forces between the particles is not rigid. So they are fluid in nature. Okay. Third, gases. Very large empty spaces between gas particles. Very large empty spaces between काइनेटिक एनर्जी को वापस एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए. जरूर प्रतिमा, मैं अभी करती हूँ बच्चा, अभी करती हूँ. पहले मैं ये समझा दूं. तो आपका जो पॉइंट सी है, पिक्चर सी, दैट इज गैसेस, larger spaces between them. Larger spaces means the particles, they don't attract each other with such a greater force. They can move freely, they can go wherever they want. So they don't have fixed shape, they don't have fixed volume, they are not rigid, but they are compressible. We put pressure on the gases, we can bring these particles together. So Pratima is asking, मैम काइनेटिक एनर्जी समझा दीजिए. प्रतिमा, मैं आपको आप ही की भाषा में समझाऊंगी इजीली. आपको मैं भेजती हूँ दो जगह पे. वन इज पार्क, कोई भी नहीं है आसपास. दूसरा इज वेरी क्लोजली पैक्ड बस में आप ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, राइट? अब मुझे बताइए कहाँ आप फ्रीली मूव कर सकते हो, इन द बस और इन द पार्क? ऑफ कोर्स इन द पार्क, जहां पे आपके आसपास जो और मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं, लेट्स से और लोगों को हम एज अ पार्टिकल कंसिडर करते हैं और पार्टिकल्स नहीं है, तो यू कैन मूव योर हैंड्स, यू कैन मूव योर लेग्स. आपका कहीं घूमने का मन करता है, आप जा सकते हो. बट इन दैट क्लोजली पैक्ड बस, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू कैनॉट मूव इवन योर हैंड्स. वहां से जाना तो बहुत दूर की बात है. सो दैट मीन्स दिस इज कॉल्ड काइनेटिक एनर्जी. The energy that particle is having, particle is always moving, okay, that energy is called kinetic energy. In solids, for example in bus, the kinetic energy is very low, and in the park freely, for example in gases, the kinetic energy is high. Okay, is that clear to you now? Sunda, Miss Sunda, I'm gonna for sure explain evaporation in my upcoming slides. Okay, now diffusion and osmosis. Okay, you have to understand these two concepts as well. So now let's understand what is diffusion. Osmosis will come in upcoming chapters or upcoming classes, but still to give you an idea, I have taken osmosis as well. But understand what is diffusion. So diffusion is any solute or any Mr. Tarun is asking, explain compressibility. Sure, Tarun. I will explain all the questions at the end of this session. How to attend my class daily? You can enroll on Unacademy's platform. There, search for plus courses. I am there teaching science every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday through Thursday. For now. And my code is PS13. Go ahead and sign up. Okay, and you will be learning, trust me, you'll be learning English science in a much easier and better way, trust me. All right, so diffusion is like you have an incense stick, you have an agarbatti or dhoop or perfume. You are opening it or you are burning the incense stick, lighting it up one corner of the room. How come you can smell it from far away? Because the particles, they moved from one place to another. So this is called diffusion. When something, molecules of something, solute or solvent. Solute and solvent will be covered in next chapter. Solute is when something, for example, in a sugary liquid, we have water, we put sugar in it. Whatever is present in larger quantity is water, is called solvent. Whatever is present in smaller quantity, let's say sugar, is a solute. So, ma'am, please remember my code is PS13. Pooja Sharma 13. My name is Dr. Pooja and my code is PS13. Go ahead and sign up. All right. So guys, so diffusion is whenever some molecules, they move from the higher concentration to lower concentration, that is called diffusion. Remember it, याद रखिएगा, what is diffusion? All right, very important question. And what is osmosis? Osmosis I will not get into too much of the details, but osmosis में सिर्फ और सिर्फ solvent move करते हैं, point 1, and they move through a semi-permeable membrane. So that is the biggest difference between diffusion and osmosis. Osmosis, solute or solvent, any of them can move from their higher concentration to lower concentration. Higher concentration, what do you mean by that? From their higher quantities, let's put it a very easy language, to their lower quantities. All right. And in osmosis, it's always solvent that moves from low solute concentration to higher solute concentration. For now, you just have to remember that for osmosis. Next slide. So this is the pictorial representation of diffusion and osmosis. In picture 1, you put sugar or salt in water, leave it there. Sugar will diffuse in the whole liquid. Okay. Why? From its higher concentration to lower concentration. The rest of the water, there is lower concentration. So sugar is moving from its higher concentration to lower concentration. That is diffusion. And osmosis, we have this, you see this green line in between, that is the semi-permeable membrane. So only solvent moves in case of osmosis. I will not go into too much of the details of osmosis because that is out of scope of your book. But just for comparison, I put these two things together. Sunda, I'm not teaching fast, baby. So this I teach very slow. But this YouTube lecture is just to this particular section, my particular chapter is, I have just taken important concepts. All right. But when I take my regular classes, I go very slow. I take each and every picture. I take each and every concept. I take so many examples to make sure it is understandable to you. But as this is my YouTube session, special session for you guys, and save this session, you will get to learn so many things in such a small 1 hour session and easy for you to remember. I've compiled all the important points here. डिफ्यूजन समझ नहीं आया? डिफ्यूजन क्या होता है मैं आपको हिंदी में भाषा में समझाती हूँ. जब आप एक कमरे में परफ्यूम की बॉटल खोलते हैं, ठीक है, तो बॉटल में जो परफ्यूम की कंसंट्रेशन है, कंसंट्रेशन मीन्स कह लीजिए उसकी क्वांटिटी, उसकी अमाउंट बहुत ज्यादा हाई है एज कंपेयर टू आपका पूरा कमरा. ठीक है, तो जैसे ही आप उसको खोलते हो उसकी खुशबू जो है वो फैल जाती है पूरे कमरे में. या दूसरी एग्जांपल लीजिए, आप अगरबत्ती जलाते हो एक कमरे में कोने में, ठीक है, तो जब आप कोने में अगरबत्ती जगाई, आप पूरे कमरे में उसको कैसे स्मेल कर लेते हो? बिकॉज वो डिफ्यूज हुआ. अगरबत्ती में वो जो पार्टिकल्स थे उनकी कंसंट्रेशन हाई थी, उनकी अमाउंट हाई थी और बाकी कमरे में कोई भी अगरबत्ती का पार्टिकल नहीं था. तो डिफ्यूजन में क्या होता है, कोई भी चीज उसकी हायर कंसंट्रेशन से उसकी लोअर कंसंट्रेशन की तरफ जाती है, उसको हम डिफ्यूजन बोलते हैं. एट इट्स ओन, बाहर की कोई पावर नहीं लगाते हम, अपने आप जाती है. तभी तो आप एक कमरे से दूसरे कमरे में भी अगरबत्ती की खुशबू ले लेते हो, या कोई कमरे में एंटर करता है बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग परफ्यूम लगा के, तो आपको पूरे रूम में उसकी स्मेल फैल जाती है. दिस इज बिकॉज ऑफ डिफ्यूजन. अब समझ आया आपको? आपको समझ आ गया अब डिफ्यूजन? ऑस्मोसिस की ज्यादा डिटेल में मत जाइए बेटे, क्योंकि ऑस्मोसिस जो है आपके सिलेबस में नहीं है. मैंने जस्ट उसको एग्जाम्पल के लिए दिया था, आप कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे. नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट जो आपका आता है दैट इज मेल्टिंग पॉइंट एंड बॉइलिंग पॉइंट. सी अगेन देखिए, इस चैप्टर, इस सेक्शन में या इस लाइव सेशन में मैंने सिर्फ और सिर्फ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स उठाए हैं आपके चैप्टर 1 में से. आपके चैप्टर 1 में बॉइलिंग और मेल्टिंग पॉइंट बहुत अलग अलग जगह पे पड़ा हुआ है. ठीक है, तो इट इज डिफिकल्ट फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाट इज द ऑथर टॉकिंग अबाउट, व्हाट इज मेल्टिंग पॉइंट, व्हाट इज बॉइलिंग पॉइंट. यू गेट ऑल कंफ्यूज्ड. देयर आर सो मेनी एक्टिविटीज इन द बुक. सो हियर एवरीथिंग इज वेरी मच क्लियर टू यू कि व्हाट इज मेल्टिंग पॉइंट, व्हाट इज बॉइलिंग पॉइंट फ्रॉम डेफिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. अगर आपको याद भी करना है तो आपके लिए बहुत ईजी रहेगा इन सब चीजों को याद करना, बिकॉज सारी चीजें एक ही जगह पे हैं. ठीक है, इसलिए मैंने ये आपको ऐसा आपके लिए प्रेजेंटेशन तैयार करी है ताकि चीज़ें आपके लिए बहुत ईजी हो जाए याद रखने के लिए फ्रॉम एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. ठीक है, अब इसमें इसी एक स्लाइड में आपका मेल्टिंग पॉइंट और बॉइलिंग पॉइंट मेंशन है. सो आई एम मेंशनिंग योर मेल्टिंग पॉइंट एंड बॉइलिंग पॉइंट इन जस्ट वन स्लाइड बिकॉज इट्स easier for you from the exam point of view. So what is a melting point? Now we have covered solids, liquids and gases. In your book it says, can these states be interconverted? क्या हम solid को liquid में और liquid को gas में convert कर सकते हैं कि नहीं? उसी point पे आपका melting point and boiling point is dependent. Okay, so can we convert solids to liquids to gases? On the same concept is your melting point or boiling point. So let's first understand what is melting point. Okay, so what is melting point? Class is still 12:30. So what is boiling melting point? First, always remember this picture in your mind: solid, liquid, gases. Okay, always remember this picture in your mind. First solid, then liquid, then gases. So whenever a solid changes to a liquid, okay, whenever a solid changes to a liquid, okay, that temperature is called its melting point. For example, you took ice, okay, you start heating it up. In your book there is a activity, you can go find it. You take ice, start heating it up. The temperature at which ice turns into liquid water is called melting point. All right, at a given pressure. ये याद रखिएगा. Okay, so melting point is the temperature at which a solid melts to become a liquid at atmospheric pressure is called melting point. Similarly, you remember that picture: solid, liquid, gases. Now solid, liquid we covered in melting point. Liquid, when a liquid changes to its vapor state or the gaseous state, right, that temperature is called boiling point. So we have covered kinetic energy. I will explain, Mr. Tharun, at the end. Okay, I will definitely explain it for you, but let me finish this chapter, these all important concepts, so that you don't miss anything. So melting point, when solid gets converted to liquid, is called melting point, that temperature. And when liquids, they get converted to their vapor state, that temperature, again, boiling point and melting points are the temperatures. Okay, temperature at which solid gets converted to liquid is called melting point. When liquid gets converted into gases or vapors, that temperature is called boiling point. So now what is this fusion and vaporization? Okay, melting point, boiling point is clear. Now what is fusion and vaporization? So again, remember that picture: solid to liquid to gases. Whenever solid state changes to its liquid state at its melting point, right, that change of state is called fusion. Okay, what is that called? Fusion. And similarly, from liquid to gases, okay, the temperature at which liquid changes to gases is called its boiling point, and this process is called vaporization. Remember guys, these are very important points. What is melting point, what is boiling point, what is fusion, what is vaporization. Okay, next, latent heat. So again, so these are all questions from your examination point of view, guys. From your examination point of view, I have picked top important concepts from chapter 1. Okay, share this video with your friends. They are really going to love you because I have compiled everything together in one slideshow. Okay, all right. So latent heat, what is latent heat? So remember, you took ice and you started heating it up, you started giving it temperature, it melted to water. Okay, but the temperature of the water did not change. Where did the heat go? Where did the heat go? So you remember this picture here? Let's say this is solid ice. Particles are together, holding very tightly. Okay, for example, this is ice. You started heating it up, so there is a force. As I said, particles attract each other. There is a force that is holding these particles together. Okay, so when we start heating it up, when we start giving it energy from outside sources, that energy is being used to overcome this force of attraction. जितनी हम बाहर से एनर्जी दे रहे हैं वो सारी के सारी एनर्जी इसकी फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन को कम करने में जा रही है ताकि ये लिक्विड में चेंज हो जाए. राइट, सो दिस हीट इज हिडन. दैट हीट इज बीन यूज्ड, दैट एनर्जी इज बीन यूज्ड to overcome the forces of attraction. So this is called latent heat. So as this stage is going to this stage is called latent heat of fusion, and from liquid state to gaseous state it's called latent heat of vaporization. All right, so remember. Thank you so much Pratima, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nishu. Yeah. So we are here, latent heat. So now remember the definition. All right. So remember this definition. What is latent heat of fusion? Again, remember that example, solid to liquid to gases. So latent heat of fusion would be somewhere something for solid to liquid state, because solid to liquid state conversion we called fusion, liquid to gas state we called vaporization. Okay, so the amount of energy that is required to change 1 kilogram of solid to liquid at melting point is called latent heat of fusion. Okay, and similarly here vaporization, remember that same one picture, solid, liquid, gases. So liquid to gases when we convert is called vaporization, and the heat that is required to convert 1 kilogram of liquid to gas at its boiling point is called latent heat of vaporization. So with this, remember this, what is latent heat of fusion and vaporization. So this is the picture that I was talking about. Okay, it says solid to liquid, liquid to gas. Remember this picture always. So solid to liquid state, when we convert at what temperature? Melting point, and that heat is called latent heat of fusion, and this conversion to this state is called fusion has happened. Okay, three things you have to remember. When we convert solid to liquids, the temperature at which it gets converted to liquid is called melting point. The conversion of state from solid to liquid is called fusion, and this heat is called latent heat of fusion. Same thing here, liquid to gas at what temperature? Boiling point, and the state is called vaporization, and the latent is called latent heat of vaporization. Okay, so 6 concepts are clear from this picture. Your melting point, boiling point, fusion, vaporization, latent heat of fusion, latent heat of vaporization. All right, so again this concept, Sunda, Miss Sunda, don't worry about the time bacha, just focus on the concept. I will cover everything. Focus on the concept clearing. Don't focus on the timing. Don't look at the watch. When you are studying, don't even pay attention to the watch. Just see what you can learn, what you can take home from this section. Okay, so 6 concepts in one picture. Solid gets converted into liquid is called fusion at melting point, latent heat of fusion. Liquid gets converted to gas called vaporization, and the temperature is called its boiling point, and this heat is called latent heat of vaporization. And opposite is called condensation, opposite is called solidification. All right, so there is another concept here. When solid gets converted to gases without going to liquid state is called sublimation. Okay, when there is no liquid state, solids get converted into gases, or gases gets converted into solids is called sublimation. There is no liquid state. Here is Again, very important concept. What is sublimation? Remember it from exam point of view. A change of state directly from solid to gas without changing into liquid is called sublimation. Examples हैं आपकी naphthalene and camphor. So remember this definition and remember these 2 points. Okay. Here is evaporation. So Sunda, here is your question that's been asking for so long, and I'm telling you I will be covering that evaporation at the end, because that is, I have to clarify other points before I get to the last concept. So what is evaporation? You know vaporization. Vaporization and evaporation, they sound similar but they are very different. Remember it. Vaporization and evaporation. Vaporization, you understand, liquid to gas at its boiling point is called vaporization. But evaporation is the phenomena of change of liquid to vapors or liquid to gases below its boiling point. Okay, so here you don't have to increase the temperature. Here evaporation is happening at all the temperatures below its boiling point. अगर boiling point पे हो गया तो वो तो vaporization हो जाएगा. That is not evaporation. Evaporation is a continuous process without any change in temperature intentionally, like without taking it to its boiling point. Okay, example क्या है? Drying of clothes. एसीटोन को अगर आप हाथ पे डालते हो तो वो उड़ जाता है. आपने पढ़ा होगा like why the water is cooler in earthen pots. So these are all examples of acid evaporation. So evaporation से cooling होती है. Why? Most important question हमेशा आता है, why does evaporation cause cooling? Okay, so evaporation से why cooling is there? Because understand, evaporation is a surface phenomena. Okay, and the particles, they take energy from the surrounding particles and they leave from the surface itself. Okay, so when they leave, because they have taken energy from the surroundings or surrounding particles, so because they have taken that energy, now energy of the surrounding particles will be low. So that means temperature has decreased. It caused cooling. All right. So evaporation का हमेशा याद रखिएगा, evaporation is always a surface phenomena. Evaporation occurs at all temperatures below boiling point. And here is another slide telling you about differences between vaporization and evaporation. Vaporization takes place at boiling point. Evaporation at all temperatures, guys, at all temperatures. That's the biggest difference. It takes place over the entire liquid mass. You remember, water starts boiling, पूरा का पूरा पानी boil करता है तो vapors बनते हैं, vaporization होता है, right? But evaporation is only a surface phenomena. Only particles from the surface, they get released into the atmosphere. Okay, so biggest difference, whole mass, surface phenomena. It's a fast process. You see, boiling, you put water in one glass of water in a pan, start heating it up, boiling it up, and within maybe 10-15 minutes the whole water will get vaporized. But evaporation, you are not providing heat from outside, you just leave it there. So it is a very slow and silent process. Okay, next, no cooling effect. Vaporization से कोई cooling effect नहीं आएगा, but evaporation gives you cooling effect, because in evaporation particles, they have to release themselves from the surface. They take energy from the sides, from surroundings, and because they are taking energy from the surroundings, that causes lowering in the energy. Okay, so yes, again, another important point, guys. So this was about vaporization and evaporation. Sunda, Miss Sunda, I guess that was your question, factors affecting evaporation, because evaporation is a surface phenomena. So whatever causes more particles to be released from the surface, that will help you increase evaporation. For example, surface area, more surface area, more evaporation. Temperature, more temperature of the surroundings, more evaporation. Third, windy. If wind is there, it is taking away all the particles and there will be more evaporation. Humidity. If there is more humidity, more particles around the surface, the particles will not find place to release. Okay, so then increased humidity, low evaporation. So these are the factors, but I'm not covering all these factors in very much details because you can find them in your book. Here I'm only covering and comparing the very, very, very important points that you get confused for. Okay. Evaporation के examples हैं like drying off clothes, you put acetone on your hand, desert cooler, you know, all these are examples, and you can get all those questions like why water is cooler in the other part, why, you know, you get these coolers, they cool the room like very easily in like hot summer day, then why wear cotton clothes, all these like important questions you can get, but here only super top important things I'm covering. So temperature, guys, another important question comes to your exams, like what is Kelvin scale? Okay, so Kelvin is the SI unit of temperature, and they ask you to convert centigrades to Kelvin or Kelvin to centigrades. So centigrade to Kelvin, you have to add 273 to the centigrade temperature to convert it to Kelvin, or from Kelvin to centigrade you have to subtract 273. Okay, always remember this, exam point of view, say very important question. So with that I cover all major points about matter in our surroundings, solid, liquid, gaseous states, how these states can be converted into each other, what are the temperatures are called when we convert these states to each other, what is the state like fusion or vaporization. Okay, what are the latent heats, what is the difference between vaporization and evaporation, all those are been covered. But now there are 8 most important questions from your examination point of view, apart from all those questions that are already there in your book, right? You guys know that. But here, first question, what are the main characteristics of particles? You have to explain it. Particles are, you know, every matter is made up of particle. They are like very small, tiny structures which make up the particle, the substance, the matter. They have empty spaces between them. Okay, they attract each other. So these are the important characteristics. I have covered this question in one of the slides. You can go back and check it out. What is the cause of rigidity, fluidity and compressibility? You remember that picture where I showed you how closely packed these particles are. So the arrangement of these particles in a matter that causes these 3 properties. Compressibility, if the particles are too closely packed, less space between them, we cannot pressure and compress it. Fluidity, when they have fairly good spaces. And rigidity, if they compressibility, I'm really sorry, I mixed it with rigidity. So that was for rigidity. When they have no spaces between them, they have a defined shape, they are rigid, we cannot compress them. Okay, so the arrangement of particles within a matter, that is the point which will cover your rigidity, fluidity and compressibility. Then comes okay guys, next is what is dry ice? Another important question. What is dry ice? Dry ice is solidified carbon dioxide at a very high pressure and very low temperature. Why we call it dry ice? Because dry ice, it does not change into its liquid state directly from solid to gas when the pressure is decreased to 1 atmospheric pressure. Where is it used? When we have to ship very temperature sensitive stuff from one place to another, we use dry ice. Okay, important question from examination point of view. Why LPG gas turns into liquid when filled in cylinders? You remember, LPG, liquid petroleum gas, is a liquefied gas in the cylinders. Because it is a gas, it has very large spaces between it. but remember, if we have to carry this gas without liquefying it, we'll have to have very large containers. So because the compressibility property of the gas, we can compress the gas into smaller cylinders for easy transportation and storage. Okay, what are the factors affecting rate of evaporation? Again, surface area, temperature, wind, humidity, okay, kinetic energy. So these are the all factors affecting rate of evaporation. How would you change Celsius or centigrade to Kelvin or vice versa in terms of temperatures? You will add 273 for centigrade to Kelvin, or you will subtract 273 from Kelvin to centigrades. So all these questions are important from your examination point of view, other than the questions that are already there in the books, in your textbooks. Why steam causes severe burns as compared to water at the same temperature? You remember, guys, how steam is formed? Steam is formed by water at when we heat it at its boiling point. Okay, but latent heat of vaporization, because steam was formed because so much of heat was absorbed by water before it got changed into steam. Okay, the water got changed to steam. Because of that latent heat of vaporization, the energy, the temperature of steam is higher than water at the same temperature. Very important question. Again, I'm telling you, why does temperature of water remain same at its melting or boiling point? This is another point. Sometimes they won't ask you latent heat of fusion or latent heat of vaporization directly. They will ask you in this manner. Okay, don't get confused there. Confused नहीं होना है, उस चीज को समझना है. वो कह रहे हैं कि पानी का टेम्परेचर सेम क्यों रहता है मेल्टिंग पे और बॉइलिंग पे? Because at melting point or at boiling point, there is called latent heat of fusion or latent heat of vaporization. Okay, because that heat energy is taken up by the particles of solids or liquids to overcome the attraction between the particles when they are changing state. So the temperature will remain same. Okay, so these are the 8 important questions. I have not asked these questions directly, but indirectly, if you understand the concept that I have covered throughout this video. All right, guys. So with this, I thank you very much. Now, if you want, quickly ask me questions. And again, I am your English educator for science subject on Unacademy's platform. Use my code PS13, which is Pooja Sharma 13, I guess. So PS13, use this code, subscribe to this video, share this video, save this video, because I have put lots of efforts to compile things for together. I'll be coming up with such a great, more videos for you, so that you can use these videos as a reference point, because books, they are very confusing. I find your books confusing, but when I put all these things together in a slide format, it's easy for you, for reference, for remembering, for definition point of view. All right, questions please. So I guess again, as I said, go follow me on Unacademy. My name is Dr. Pooja Sharma. I'm from United States. I have worked as a scientist. I have immense experience in the field of science, and I want to use all that experience to educate you guys. Okay, so don't wait for anything. Go ahead, sign up, and I'll be having special classes there. Have your friends, have your classmates to attend those special lectures, so that they all understand all important concepts. I'm teaching science 9th and 10th on Unacademy. My name is Dr. Pooja. My referral code is PS13. And with this, guys, thank you so much. And session ends here. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day. Enjoy yourself. Understand the concepts very well, so that you can crack any exam. Bye.